The moment I stepped into the old house, I felt an unsettling chill creep down my spine. It had been abandoned for years, yet somehow it still felt alive. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of mildew, but there was something more, a lingering presence that seemed to watch me as I explored. I had inherited the house from my grandmother, who often spoke of it with a mixture of nostalgia and fear. She never elaborated on what had happened there, but I could tell it was a place filled with secrets. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and an eager curiosity, I decided to spend the night. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, each step echoing through the empty halls. I wandered from room to room, the moonlight filtering through the cracked windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. As I entered the parlor, I noticed an old piano in the corner, its keys yellowed with age. I pressed a key gently, and a mournful note filled the silence, lingering in the air long after I stopped. A chill ran through me, but I brushed it off as the draft from the window. I set my things down in what had once been my grandmother's bedroom, hoping to catch some sleep. As I lay in the musty bed, the house creaked and groaned, like it was settling down for the night. I closed my eyes, but sleep eluded me. Around midnight, I was jolted awake by a soft sound, a faint whisper that seemed to drift through the air. Straining to listen, I could make out a name, my grandmother's. It was a gentle, sorrowful call, echoing in the darkness. My heart raced as I sat up, the shadows dancing ominously around me. I grabbed my flashlight and crept out of the bedroom, the beam cutting through the darkness. The whisper grew louder as I approached the parlor again. My breath caught in my throat as I saw it, a figure, barely discernible, seated at the piano. It looked like a woman, her hair long and dark, her fingers moving gracefully over the keys, playing a haunting melody. "Grandma!" I called, my voice shaky. The figure paused, and I could feel a rush of cold air envelop me. The moment stretched painfully, and then she turned. Her face was a blur, features indistinct and shadowy. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The melody continued, filling the room with a sorrow I couldn't comprehend. I stumbled backward, terrified yet captivated. The music pulled at something deep within me, an ache that resonated with loss. I wanted to reach out to comfort her, but fear held me in place. Suddenly, the music stopped. The figure turned her gaze toward me, and in that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of grief and longing wash over me. "Help me?" The whisper echoed in my mind, as if the plea was more than just a call. It was a desperate cry for release. Gathering my courage, I stepped closer. "What do you need?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure pointed toward the old family portrait hanging on the wall. My heart raced as I recognized it, my grandmother with her sister, a woman I had never met but had heard stories about. "She's here," the voice echoed, now clearer, resonating in the room. I felt compelled to look closer at the portrait. The sister's eyes seemed to follow me, filled with sadness and a longing that mirrored my grandmother's ghostly presence. Suddenly, the air thickened, and I felt a rush of energy in the room. The piano lid slammed shut, startling me. I stumbled back, breathless, as the figure began to fade, her sorrowful expression lingering in my mind. "Find her," was the last thing I heard before she disappeared completely, leaving me alone in the silence of the parlor. I spent the rest of the night in a restless haze, my mind racing. Who was this woman? What had happened in this house? I knew I had to uncover the truth to help my grandmother's spirit find peace. As dawn broke, I searched through old letters and photographs, piecing together fragments of my family's history. With each discovery, the weight of the past grew heavier, a tragic tale of loss and separation. By the time the sun rose, I felt a sense of purpose. I was determined to honor my grandmother and her sister, to give them the closure they so desperately needed. I vowed to return to the house, armed with the knowledge I had unearthed, ready to bring peace to the restless spirits that lingered within its walls. As the first light of dawn filtered through the dusty windows, I felt a strange mix of determination and dread. The house, once filled with unsettling whispers, now felt like a mausoleum, echoing the stories of those who had come before me. I knew I couldn't leave without understanding the depth of my grandmother's sorrow. After a quick breakfast of toast and coffee, I gathered the old letters and photographs into a worn satchel. I could still feel the chill of the night lingering, a reminder that the ghosts of the past were not ready to be forgotten. I headed back to the parlor, my heart pounding in anticipation of what I might uncover. As I sat on the creaky floor, surrounded by the remnants of my family's history, I began to read through the letters. Most were love letters between my grandmother and her sister, filled with affection but also hints of a deeper sorrow. One letter, dated just weeks before her sister vanished, sent shivers down my spine. It mentioned a dark secret buried in the family's past-day secret that had caused a rift between them, something too painful to articulate. I glanced at the old portrait again, feeling an invisible weight pressing down on me. It was as if the eyes of my grandmother's sister were urging me to dig deeper. I couldn't shake the feeling that the house itself held the key to the mystery. The sun continued to rise, casting long shadows across the room. I decided to explore the attic, a place I hadn't ventured yet. The creaky staircase led me up into a dimly lit space filled with cobwebs and forgotten treasures. Dust motes danced in the air as I shone my flashlight around, illuminating old trunks, broken furniture, and stacks of yellowed newspapers. As I rummaged through the trunks, I uncovered items that once belonged to my grandmother. A delicate lace dress, a tarnished silver locket, and a diary bound in cracked leather. My heart raced as I opened the diary, revealing pages filled with my grandmother's flowing script. At first, it was mundane entries about daily life, family gatherings, and her love for music. But then, the tone shifted. She wrote about strange occurrences in the house, whispers at night that seemed to call her name, and shadows that danced just beyond her vision. The last entry, dated just days before her sister disappeared, sent chills through me. "I fear something dark is at play," she wrote. "I can feel her presence, but it is tainted by despair. I must find a way to reach her before it's too late." I shivered, the words echoing in my mind. I closed the diary and looked around the attic, feeling an urge to search for whatever had caused that despair. There was an old trunk in the corner, its latch rusty and worn. I pried it open, and inside, I found more letters, but these were not from my grandmother. They were addressed to her sister, filled with sorrowful words and an intensity that made my skin crawl. "Your departure was not your choice," one letter read, filled with a desperation that felt almost tangible. "I see you, my love, trapped in the shadows. They won't let you go." The air in the attic thickened, a weight settling around me. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see a shadow looming behind me. The feeling of being watched returned, more intense than ever. I suddenly felt the temperature drop, my breath visible in the chilly air. A soft sound broke the silence, a faint, sorrowful melody. I turned, my heart racing, the echoes of the piano haunting my ears. The music seemed to come from below, a ghostly tune playing from the depths of the house. Compelled by an unseen force, I made my way back downstairs, the melody guiding me. I followed it into the parlor, where the piano sat silent, as if it had never played. My pulse quickened, and I scanned the room, feeling an energy building around me. Then, I saw a shimmering light in the corner of the room, flickering like a candle in the dark. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. The light swirled and shifted, taking the form of a figure. It was my grandmother's sister, ethereal and translucent, a mixture of sorrow and longing in her eyes. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "You must understand." I reached out instinctively, but as I did, the light flickered violently, and the room plunged into darkness. I felt a rush of wind, as if the house itself were exhaling in fear. Panic gripped me, and I stumbled backward, my flashlight flickering as the darkness thickened around me. "Don't leave me," I shouted, my voice echoing in the suffocating silence. The whispering returned, filling the air with a cacophony of voices, overlapping and frantic. I could barely make out phrases: "Find the truth," "Set her free," "They won't let her go." I closed my eyes, overwhelmed, trying to block out the noise, but it seeped into my mind, drowning me in despair. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the house, making me jump. I opened my eyes, heart racing, and saw the attic door slam shut, sealing me off from escape. The air crackled with energy, a presence swirling around me, and the once familiar walls of the parlor felt like they were closing in. The piano, long silent, began to play again, the haunting melody resonating with my very soul. I could feel the sorrow behind each note, the weight of my family's history pressing down on me. In that moment, I realized the house was alive, holding on to its memories and secrets, and I was caught in the midst of it all. With every ounce of courage I had left, I took a deep breath and spoke to the darkness. "I will help you," I promised, my voice trembling but firm. "I'll find a way to set you free." But even as I spoke, I felt the chilling grip of fear tightening around me, knowing that uncovering the truth would not be easy. The spirits were restless, and the house had more to reveal. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The haunting melody continued, each note pulling at my heartstrings, weaving a tapestry of sorrow that wrapped tightly around me. I stood frozen in the parlor, the weight of the past pressing down like an invisible force. The darkness felt almost sentient, swirling around my legs, coaxing me to flee while urging me to stay and listen. "Find her," the whispers repeated, echoing in my mind. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out the chaos of voices. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the pulse of the house, as if it were alive, thrumming with emotion. I forced myself to move, drawn back toward the portrait of my grandmother and her sister. The woman in the picture seemed to shimmer in the dim light, her eyes glistening with tears that threatened to spill over. My heart ached for her, for the sorrow she carried, a weight that transcended time. In a sudden moment of clarity, I remembered the letters I'd found in the attic. I dashed back to the trunk, rummaging through the musty contents, until my fingers brushed against the leather of my grandmother's diary. I pulled it free, clutching it like a lifeline. Flipping through the pages, I searched for any mention of her sister, anything that might shed light on the mystery that had gripped them both. There had to be a connection, something binding their fates together. Then, I found it a passage that sent shivers down my spine. "I have heard whispers in the night," it read. "They speak of a darkness that took my sister from me. I must protect her, but I fear I do not have the strength. There is a place in the woods where the veil between our worlds is thin. If I do not reach her soon, I fear she will be lost forever." The realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. The woods. I had seen the edge of a forest just beyond the backyard, dense and foreboding. If there was a way to connect with my grandmother's sister, perhaps I could find it there. But the thought of venturing into that dark expanse filled me with trepidation. The music faltered for a moment, and the air shifted, thick with anticipation. I could sense the spirits urging me, pushing me toward the truth. I glanced at the parlor door, still closed, and felt the weight of their despair. Summoning every ounce of courage, I made my decision. I would venture into the woods, follow the path my grandmother had hinted at, and confront whatever lay beyond. I hurriedly gathered a flashlight and the diary, tucking the letters under my arm, before pushing open the door. The moment I stepped outside, the chill of the morning air hit me like a wave, but it was refreshing, a welcome contrast to the oppressive atmosphere of the house. I followed a narrow path that snaked through the backyard, leading to the edge of the woods. The trees loomed overhead, their branches twisting like skeletal fingers against the pale sky. As I entered the forest, the light dimmed, and shadows danced around me. The ground was uneven, littered with fallen branches and thick roots that threatened to trip me. I felt the air grow colder, the whispers from the house still echoing in my mind, urging me to press on. Deeper into the woods, I stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in a strange, ethereal light. In the center stood a gnarled tree, its bark twisted and dark, unlike any tree I'd ever seen. My heart raced as I approached it, feeling an inexplicable pull toward its ancient presence. I could see markings etched into the trunk, symbols that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. As I traced my fingers over them, a jolt of energy shot through me. The air shimmered, and I could hear the faintest echo of music, the same haunting melody that had filled the parlor. "Please," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Is this where you are? I need to help you." The wind picked up, rustling the leaves, and for a moment, the air felt charged with possibility. I closed my eyes, focusing on the music in my mind, the sorrowful tones that resonated within me. I felt an overwhelming urge to call out, to reach into the depths of the past. "Margaret!" I shouted, using my grandmother's sister's name, hoping it would pierce the veil that separated us. "I'm here. I can help you. Just show me how." The wind howled in response, and the shadows around the tree began to shift. I could see a faint silhouette forming, a figure stepping into the light. My breath caught in my throat as the ghostly outline of Margaret materialized before me, her expression a mix of longing and desperation. "Help me?" she echoed, her voice ethereal and hollow. "You must break the bond that keeps me here." I felt the energy of the forest envelop me, the weight of her plea pulling at my heart. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. Margaret raised her hand, pointing to the tree. "The darkness that took me find the heart of it. Only then can I be free." I hesitated, fear gnawing at my insides. What darkness? What lay within this seemingly ancient, benevolent tree? But I could see the urgency in her eyes, the desperation that reflected my grandmother's own. I couldn't turn away. I had to confront whatever lurked in the shadows. Taking a deep breath, I stepped closer to the tree. The air crackled with energy, and I felt a pull toward the ground at its base. I crouched down, brushing away leaves and dirt, my fingers trembling with anticipation. There, hidden beneath the surface, I found a small, ornate box, its metal cool to the touch. Intricate designs covered its surface, symbols similar to those carved into the tree. I felt a surge of recognition, as if this box held the key to the mystery of my family's past. With a deep breath, I lifted the box, heart racing. As I opened it, a rush of cold air enveloped me, and the shadows around me twisted and writhed. A dark, swirling mass erupted from the box, filling the clearing with an oppressive energy that felt alive, hungry. I stumbled back, clutching the diary and letters to my chest as the darkness pulsed before me. "No!" I shouted, struggling against the force trying to pull me in. "I will not let you take her." Margaret's form flickered, her expression shifting from sorrow to determination. "You must face it," she urged, her voice growing stronger, echoing in the swirling chaos. "Only through your courage can the bond be severed." Gathering my resolve, I stepped forward, drawing on the energy of the forest and the love that had once tied our family together. I focused on the sorrow, the love, the connection that had been lost. "You won't keep her," I cried, feeling the warmth of my grandmother's spirit beside me. As I reached toward the darkness, I felt a jolt of energy surge through me, and the shadows recoiled, as if they were alive and afraid. The clearing was filled with a blinding light, and for a moment, I felt the weight of all the grief in the world. With one final push, I shouted, "You have no power here!" The darkness shrieked, twisting violently, and I felt Margaret's presence envelop me, her spirit intertwining with mine. The energy exploded outward, shattering the darkness into 1,000 pieces, each fragment dissolving into the air like smoke. As the last remnants faded away, I collapsed to the ground, breathless, and looked up to see Margaret standing before me, solid and whole, bathed in light. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice a gentle breeze. "You have freed me." The forest fell silent, the weight of the past lifted. But as I looked around, I felt a lingering unease, a question hanging in the air. Though I had freed her spirit, what remained for me in this haunted house? The past might be settled, but the story wasn't over yet. The house still held secrets, and as I stood in that clearing, I knew I had to return and uncover what lay hidden within its walls. As Margaret's spirit faded into the light, a sense of peace enveloped me. The oppressive weight that had filled the woods lifted, leaving only the soft rustle of leaves. I took a deep breath, feeling a warmth spread through me, a connection to my family's past that was now free from the darkness. Determined to honor their memories, I made my way back to the house, the sun breaking through the trees, illuminating the path ahead. I felt a new sense of purpose. The house still held secrets, but now I had the strength to face them. Back in the parlor, the atmosphere had shifted. The air was lighter, and the whispers had quieted. I sat in front of the old piano, feeling a connection to the spirits of my grandmother and her sister. I opened the diary one last time, and there, among the words of sorrow, I found a note of hope. Love is stronger than the shadows. With renewed resolve, I decided to turn the house into a place of remembrance, a sanctuary where the echoes of the past could be honored. I began organizing family gatherings, sharing the stories I had uncovered, and preserving the legacy of those who had once lived within those walls. As I worked, I felt the gentle presence of my grandmother and Margaret, guiding me, their spirits no longer trapped but woven into the fabric of the house. The music of the piano filled the air once more, this time a melody of joy rather than sorrow, a reminder that love endures beyond the shadows. And as the sun set on that old house, I knew it had become a home again, a place where memories would be cherished, and the past could finally rest in peace. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.